Hi guys, my name is Allie. I am a recovering heroin addict and I'm back with another video. So I asked Facebook, my friends on Facebook, what I should make tonight's video about. And one of them was what led me into using drugs. So I have made a previous video about like my childhood and all of that, but I thought that would be a good video topic for tonight. If you guys hear anything, that's my cat and my boyfriend over there. They are playing. And I was wearing this hat earlier and it put like a dent in my freaking forehead. So if you see like a line, it's because of the hat, and I don't know why it won't go away. It's driving me crazy. But this is my bare skin, by the way. How good does it look? I've been taking care of it so well. I've came such a long way with my skin. But anyway, let's get on topic. So I think that this is gonna sound kind of crazy, but I think that drugs chose me, and I'm gonna explain that. So like when I was younger, I remember being a little girl and I had a very happy childhood and I was a very happy little girl. My parents were amazing despite the challenges that they faced. You know, we all have challenges in life, some bigger than others, and my parents weren't dealt the best deck of cards, but they did amazing things with what they had. And they never let me and my brother see their struggle. So when I grew up, I had my mom and my dad. My mom was always around every day. And when I was younger, my dad was too. But when they split up, I started seeing less and less of my dad. And I think that that played a role in how how my mind formed as I grew up. And I don't blame my dad for anything ever. He was going through life just like I am. I can never blame him. He was doing the best he could, and he's always done the best that he could as a father. And I truly believe that. So as a little girl, I always remember, even though I had an amazing childhood, I always remember something. I always felt like something was missing from me. I always felt like something was missing from me as a person. I was kind of shy in school. I had my close group of friends, but I was always kind of shy. I was always very self-conscious as a little girl. I've always been I overanalyze myself, and I've always been very critical of myself, and that started from a very young age. I've always wanted to look perfect. I always overanalyzed everything. I always was very hard on myself for the way I looked and my weight and the way I talked, the way I came off to other people was very important to me. And I think that also played a big role in the events leading up to my drug use. That played a big role. With that being said, since I was very self-conscious, I was very over-analytical, I criticized everything about myself, In my eyes, I was never good enough, and in my early teen years, that put me in a really deep, dark depression at a very young age. And that since I was depressed at such a young age, I started using drugs at a very young age, like smoking weed and popping pills and drinking. My low self-esteem and since I had low self-esteem, that led to very low self-worth. I always felt like people were smarter than me, prettier than me, more popular than me. They had more friends than me, or their parents had more money than mine, so they were always dressed in like the latest fashion, and they had brand new shoes every week. And I was just always jealous, of the girls with the really long hair down their back, the perfect bodies. I was always just a very jealous person, and I've always been like that. And I also think that plays a big role in my drug use. So I think I went to drugs as an escape from everything, because when I was high, I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about how I looked. I didn't care what other people thought of me. I felt whole when I was high, and especially when I was high on heroin. The first time that I tried heroin, I literally felt complete. That hole inside of me was then filled, and I felt like I didn't have to try to be anything but me, and all of those worries kind of melted away when I was doing heroin. And that kind of led me to not care about anything. So it was like a drastic change. Like, I went from caring so much about everything and wanting to be perfect and just being so hyper vigilant about everything to not caring at all. And that was like a huge shift, and I feel like everybody in my life noticed this shift that changed in me. So when it comes to reasons why I think I do drugs, I think those are definitely some of the reasons. But I feel like my addiction, this might sound crazy too, my addiction started way before I even knew. Like, I feel like my addiction is actually like genetic. I feel like I was an addict as like a little girl. Like, I was addicted to other things, though. I wasn't addicted to drugs. I was always addicted to something. I've always had that addictive personality when I was younger. I would get really like overindulgent in certain things. Like, it was never just a healthy relationship with things. Like, I would spend like hours, like, I remember when I got a DS when I was young, and when I got it, I would spend hours and hours on end on my DS, to where my parents had to take it away because I like was on it all the time. And like, I would just become obsessed with things. Like, when I could just think of so many things. What else? Okay, I'm having a brain fart, but you guys know what I mean. Like, getting obsessed with everything new that you would discover, and being hooked on that new thing for like a couple of months, and then moving on to something else. I'm like that with food too. But yeah, so I think the addict in me showed a lot earlier than the actual drug addiction came about. And that's why I say that I feel like drugs kind of found me, because I never really loved myself. I never learned how to grow and prosper, and to learn and be alive and go through every day without drug use, because I started using drugs at such a young age that, you know, I never really grew up. And they say that the age that you start using drugs is the age that, like, your brain stops, like, growing, which I do believe that in a sense, because, you know, it kind of, if you start using drugs while your brain is still growing, it kind of stunts things. And, you know, I feel like maybe emotionally I was stuck in, like, a 13-year-old mindset for a long time. And, you know, coming from being a young girl with very low self-esteem, very overcritical, and I know a lot of people can relate to that, feeling of not being good enough. You know, that's like a very worldwide feeling. Like, a lot of people can relate to that. That I'm, like, not a special case in that sense. And I think that feeling of something always being missing, I always filled that with unhealthy things. And like I said, I never learned to love myself, so I always had problems with relationships with boys, and I always gave myself up too easily, and I was very careless. Like, in my other videos, I told you guys about how, you know, I would take a bunch of pills, not caring if I lived or died. I just wanted to get high. You know, I really damaged myself, my mind, body, and soul, because of the sole fact that I did not love myself. And I'm still learning how to love myself. And I feel like that is so important to try and instill in your children, to love themselves from a young age. And I know, you know, parents, you know, they don't have a handbook. There's no handbook. And sometimes you can't teach your child how to love themselves like the way you love them. And they have to learn that on their own. But I think that there are things that you can do to try to instill that in your child, and try to teach them to honor themselves and hold themselves to a higher standard. Because if you don't love yourself and hold yourself to a higher standard and take care of your body, and, you know, really care about your well-being and your heart and your feelings, and if you don't care about that, then nobody will care about you. You'll be treated bad your whole life. And, you know, people wonder why they're always treated bad, why bad things always happen to them, why their life sucks. It's because the foundation of everything in your life stems from the relationship with yourself. If the relationship with yourself sucks, and you talk to yourself bad all the time, and you always focus on the negative, and you don't nourish yourself and let yourself grow and make mistakes and forgive yourself for your past, then you truly will never love yourself, and that leads to a lot of bad things. And I think that was the main thing that led to me using drugs. I think that was the emptiness I always felt inside, even though I had an amazing childhood. You know, sometimes the only thing that you're missing is the love that you need for yourself, the standards that you set for yourself to help yourself blossom as a person. And that's really all I have to say for this video. I am going to make more videos on my heroin addiction. I am trying to brainstorm some more interesting video ideas. If you guys have any, I would love if you were to comment or message me on Facebook at Allie Haight, H-A-I-G-H-T. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and share my video where you can to potentially save a life and not make somebody feel so alone. The journey to sobriety should not be lonely, because so many people are in the same boat as you. Love you guys.